Onward.
Yes.
I will situate everybody in their locations. Location number one is back toward the entrance area of the village and up on the hillside with the where the macho guys do macho things with their spears and march around. We now have Tiru, Urop, and a small contingent of characters who are loyal to Urop, um, mustering their forces to troop across town and up around to the lake to the temple
Hmm.
to go and bring this to a direct confrontation of some kind. Tiru has been rather confident about why there seems to be a SPO problem. I shall solve the SPO problem with all my magic. And Urop is kind of
Yeah.
like, let's hope. And so then, but you do have a fair amount of the village to get through.
Hmm.
At the temple area, toward the entrance, is where Baroa is with a few attendants, and also with Bushi, who is still with her. And Bushi has knocked the tea, the snake tainted tea, the cobra infused tea out of her hand, and she has kind of mobilized a little bit more and is demanding to know why everyone is acting so strange and why the place looks so crappy and all sorts of things. I can't remember if there was anything more to Bushi's situation. I think that's pretty much where we closed off for you, I think. So I don't really have an action in mind for you. I was going to have to ask. Um, on the other hand, with Washi, has opened his minds to the mystic ways, and unfortunately found a snake god in there, and, and has, but unfortunately has heeded the call of Spo and is wandering in a dazed fashion closer and closer to the source of this hungry call. Um, Now, since that role had not been tagged as potentially fatal or injurious, by definition, we find Washi in a dazed but functional state, right? You're kind of able to pull yourself out of it if you want to, because I didn't designate you as messed up, if you will.
Injured, yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, you do, for colorful fun, you are walking around in a daze, half in and out of reality. But player wise, you can say whatever your character wants to do. But I
Well,
did.
I would like. Yeah. Oh, sorry. You were still talking. Sorry.
The only thing I want to say is that I am completely wide open now to 3 player characters in 3 different locations. So if each person could be brief, or at least when they're done orienting us toward what you're doing, then make sure that everyone else gets oriented too before we go on to more stuff. Anybody, talk to me. What are you doing, and what are you trying to do, and what's happening?
Well, I would like to understand where I am, or at least what do I see, or do I perceive around me now? Like,
Good
because
thing
I've
you
probably
asked.
lost my sense of
I need to go to our
orientation.
chat and give you the image.
Ah, let us see.
Okay, so you can see now this, as drawn, is I mean, it looks like it's sitting out there in the middle of a desert, which is cool and everything for purposes of the drawing, but for our purposes, this is actually underground. So
Mhm.
remember how I said that it had seemed as though some of the temple had been kind of dug back into the ground underneath it, so it's like out of the temple proper and into the dirt and earth underneath and behind it. That's what this is. That this rectangular extension, like a recently created annex, basically. What it looks like from the outside, you guys didn't go around to that side of the temple to see. So you don't know whether it projects up above the ground or anything like that. So you're underground and walking into just up those stairs and looking way down there where in the weird fungal light you can barely see that carved reptilian face.
I'm going to slowly walk towards that face and pass through this, like, it's I don't know how it's called in English, the navata, the ship of the cathedral.
Mm-hmm. The vault.
The vault, thank you. Yeah, in Italian it's called a ship because it looks like a reversed ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass through the vault of the cathedral and slowly walk through it. And while observing what I have around me and getting closer and closer to this statue, and I want to understand if this is just a statue or if I can feel something from it, and if I do, to try to communicate, maybe?
Well, there's several things that you're saying, and the first is to tell you a bit about what you see. And I'll tell you a little bit, and then we're going to hop to another person.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the little bit that I'm going to tell you is that this is not the ruins or or in any way an ancient structure. So it's very, very rough. It's newly made or fairly newly made. It's unfinished. It's just held up by these pillars enough to keep from collapsing. It's very makeshift in lots of ways. So it's not as though there's ancient masonry or anything like that. The floor is solid. The people have laid down stones, but it's not, stonemason's work. It's not, a nice paved plaza or anything like that. And the essence of what you had sensed in the water here is absolutely overwhelming. The miasma is quite tangible in this place, and although what you're looking at is just a statue slash carving slash arrangement of materials, because it's the whole wall. You can see it on the map, right? You're actually looking at the whole end wall. And that to your left, just off center to the left, is a door. And then there's this monster's face. Now, it is not alive. This is a building, right? But it's watching you anyway. So, with that set of spookiness handled, we go to either of the two of you to tell us all something equivalent. Let's all get oriented.
Why don't you go, Lorenzo?
Okay. And I guess my goal right now is I'm following Europe around because he seems to have a clear idea of what he wants to do.
That's funny. He was saying about you.
Yeah, but we were talking about freeing the village, and
right.
He immediately jumped up and started, mobilizing people. I don't want to stop that momentum, but I need to. If that's in the room or while we are moving around, what I want to talk about with him is why they can't leave. I need to understand why they feel they can't just leave the village, and there was this element that he mentioned that. People are kind of trapped here, and I want to understand if it's just them not feeling like leaving, or if there is something more serious, or if the serpent is going to eat us all when we try.
We're a very devout community, and we care a lot about our observances, and we care a lot about what we provide to people who come here. And we take our views, our responsibilities very seriously. So a lot of people here refuse to believe that there's any kind of problem. Or if they do, they just keep their mouths shut and think that it will improve because, of course, it's never been like this. It can't stay this way. And then there are people who are simply loyal to their friends and family who are inclined to stay. And then there are those of us who feel responsible for the group collectively. So unless we all go, then I won't. And also, how would we, the priests, most of them, I think, are great, honest people. I mean, how could we convince them to leave their? How could we convince them to leave their traditional place of worship? And the way, I mean, he's a devout person too. He'll put it this way, and he says, "I will not betray Spo by leaving the god, in the hands of some evil influence."
So this place has always been about Spo. It's not some recent thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when did it happen? When did things change? I mean,
I've been thinking about this a lot. It hasn't been long, perhaps a year. Slowly, piece by piece, bit by bit. This is the first time that. Oh well, and also, of course, I mean, the spiders are the real problem. Of course. I mean, we can't leave and let the spiders take over this holy place. And the spiders are everywhere. I mean, the spiders could come and kill us at any time. The Holy Squad must stay vigilant.
How many spiders did you fight these last few weeks? Has there been many assaults? Has there been...
You can always find traces of them. You can always find signs that they've been here, and my scouts have found evidence that they lurk in the hills at all times. They have lots of eyes, They're beady little eyes. Yeah. They watch all the time, okay? Those little beady eyes of theirs shakes his finger at you, right? The spiders are always there, and you can't tell when they're going to get you. So it's a real problem. It says it's a real problem, Teru. I mean, you wear that armor now. You need to take this seriously.
If we see a spider, I will make sure to treat it like it deserves.
And he narrows his eyes. He narrows his eyes and says, "And any who serve them."
So I nod vacuously and I say, "So we are going to." Have you seen Spo before?
Well, hold on. This dialogue is starting to me to feel as though we're just having it in the void.
Yes.
Let me, with all this chit chat, by now you are out of the barracks area. You've gone down the hill. You've gone up the road a little bit. You've gone into the big flat area, the central space of the village area, and you can see all the cute little frog houses and stuff, with their cool roofs and all those things. And then from there, your knowledge of geography is very clear. It's obvious that just go up that road a little more, turn to the right, and you will be at the lake, which is at the center of this basin. It's plain as the nose on your face that, even if it's a little frog nose, that the geography of the area is very clear to you now that you've taken in, like, oh, the mountains are over here and the river's here. Okay, I get it. And that's where you'll be headed. However, there are several different events going on in the space of this village and going up into the temple that you two and a few others are walking straight into. So you're So you're walking straight into a social set of events, and probably to the surprise of no one. Epu has been packaged for delivery at the temple, and none too gently, I might add. People are covering their little frogs, ears, so that they won't hear what he's been saying. And there's
Fucking image snap. I'm sorry.
and so then sorry, I just love the little frogs. Okay, so then
What do you think of the little frogs?
and so the issue with other characters that you know of too, if you will recall, Goosh is in ferocious debate, and lots of people are standing around with opinions. With Imber, who is the pilgrim who is from Wombaroom, who is returning. You may remember him. Well, Imber
yeah.
has opinions about what he's seeing in the last few hours that are very distinct, and Imber is being very clear that something has gone terribly wrong with Wombaroom, and is, being a native of the village, is holding forth on this, in a very educated and an informed way. Well, Goosh is doing his level best to smooth things over and have Imber be quiet and convince people that everything is really okay. So, and Goosh, speaking of little frogs, Goosh has a frog about half his size next to him who's dressed like in the same colors and the same kind of slightly more privileged fashion that Goosh himself displays. And so, he's even saying things like, don't you care about our community? I need to care about little Goosh here. He'll be mayor one day. And the and there so there isn't really a riot yet, but this is drawing everybody's attention. There don't seem to be any priests around. Maybe they're busy with something. And does that give you sort of an orientation about like what you're doing? And,
Yeah.
And this is,
Yes.
you guys could like try to get through and pay no attention to this. You could do that, but everything that's going
I
on is
think,
tremendously distracting, obviously. So
I was going to say that I think I'm going to turn to Europe and say, I've been thinking that maybe I should go to the temple. And if something bad happens, you can still work out of this. And this place is your community and your family. And I'm a collateral in this situation. And let me see what's going on there.
Urop says, "No, you were right the first time. The time has come. It's time for the Holy Squad to earn its name, to demonstrate, live up to its name. That we will stand up for the holiness of Spo, and that in that we will serve the village more than we could in any other way." And then he looks around and says, "These bastards will talk forever." And so he wants nothing to do with that. Man of action.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So anyway, that's his take. But getting through there, I mean, you guys are hardly inconspicuous. All right. So that is our situation for Tiru. Bushi.
Okay.
Okay, so I've just knocked the specialty out of the way, and Barreau has is saying like, what's going on? What is going on? Why is everybody acting so weird?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna give her a respectful bow and say, "Great Barreau, it is my sad duty to inform you that you have been drugged in order to keep you from seeing what's happening in this village. And the fact is that some false teaching has come in, and some individuals are using it to terrorize your villagers. And they have abandoned the true way of Spo for a heretical view that involves sacrificing frogs."
She's saying, well, ultimately, all of us are sacrifices to Spo. You know that, right? I mean, eventually, as a metaphor.
I hate to
I mean,
inform you.
she's kind of like,
They are
I tried to
taking it-
explain this to you earlier.
These heretics are taking that very literally.